It's the smoothest gin in the world.
Has anyone ever gargled on a podcast before?
I don't know.
Like I said, you're the first guest, so...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But very quickly, just I want to talk about this at the moment because it's
Yeah, sure, go for it.
But before I do, I was just talking about the difference between your pink gin, for example, and then what you'd find like at Tesco's or something like that. What? Because I mean,
You really want to get me started on that topic?
well,
Yeah.
for the point being of like how what Rye said about it just being like not a hint necessarily, but it's like this, but with a taste of raspberry at the very end.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of pink gins I try, it's just all sugar, all raspberry.
Yeah.
And it's like they design it to not taste like gin, so that people will easily drink it a little bit more.
In my mind, it's a separate drink altogether. They know that the gin market at the moment, especially on social media, is just globally, it's bloody huge. So the word gin in itself is a very powerful marketing word, I guess. And so I think they've worked out that if they make a product that appeals to a lot of people, so it's sweet, it's pretty, it's pink, it's got nice flavour to it, easy to be drink. Not a very high ABV because it doesn't need to be. Then they'll sell bucket loads of it, and we've got some real close friends of ours. Their daughters don't like gin; they love pink gin, and the only correlation is it's sweet and it's pink. But when I try it, it's not gin. You know, a lot of these things are they use flavours and colourings, and essentially you can buy, I tell you what you could do is you could buy a bottle of the cheapest vodka you could find. You could add some juniper flavour to it, which you can get. You could add some raspberry flavour to it. You could add coconut flavour to it. You could add cookies and cream flavour to it, and you could sell it as some hybrid gin. People buy it because it tastes lush. But the stuff that's in it is absolute, there's no substance to it.
It's a liqueur, isn't it? It's not a gin.
It's not. I don't even rate anything like that, personally, and that's because I think I'm old school. I learnt kind of the old way. I'm a proper craft distiller. There's a lot of people now that even use the word craft distilling when all they're doing is probably buying neutral grain spirit, adding juniper to it or whatever, and running it through a still and coming out with something. And a lot of people do it because it's quite feasible, and I'm not knocking that because, it's a good thing to do. But then I think if you're going to call yourself a craft distiller, then you really need to understand the craft, going back to fermenting, yeasts, how different yeasts affect different things, and knowing a bit about the science behind it rather than try and make a fast buck off it. I know that, I always said this will be a slow grower. I kind of do things, my way.
Yeah.
And I'm quite pedantic how I do it. It's so I can
Patience
sleep at night.
is key, isn't it? With everything, if you're going to do it properly, you don't want to get there quickly. You want to do it properly.
Especially, yeah. I mean, if I wanted to make a fast gin, I'd get some... if I want to make something quick and nasty, I mean, I'd probably just make it quite a low ABV just so it qualifies as gin. I'd boost the flavour of the juniper with some flavour because then I wouldn't have to spend so much on juniper berries.
Yeah.
Or cardamom or, some of the more expensive prices. Yeah. I certainly wouldn't be asked about putting fee jar in there because it costs a lot for me to be able to do that. It costs a lot for me to grow it and look after it, especially through winter, because you've got to grow it outside, and use all those little things, But yeah, I just, I like proper stuff done the proper old way,
Well, I think the proof's in the pudding, and it's well worth it. I'd say well worth the patience.
Well,
well worth the. You call it being pedantic, but I think really that's the value that you bring.
Yeah.
That's the value of, that's why it tastes so good, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I think if I used, I mean, like I was touching on before about the water, if I went up and just hooked my still up to a mains water tap, and a lot of people do that, And I would have a real problem selling my product to someone that half of it came out of my kitchen tap.
Oh God, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that means, I mean, this is 45 ABV, so everything from my finger up, if that came out of my kitchen tap and I was selling it to you as a premium product, I would have a problem with that. So I get Wilfred the camper van and I put our containers in. I go up to the Malvern Hills to Hollywell and Spring, and they fill our containers up, and all it does is go through a particle filter to get any stones and stuff out, and then through a UV light to kill any pathogens, and then that's the only thing that goes in here, as well as our spirit. And I know I've done the best I can to give you the best product I can, you know.
Sure. I can definitely taste it.
Yeah.